Hey guys, it's Adam from Fablab and today we'll be printing a customized t-shirt using the Roland TrueVis SG2-300. If you haven't seen the previous video on printing stickers, please check it out as we explain the basic use of the machine here. But let's get started on the printing.
We will begin by opening your design in Adobe Illustrator. On my t-shirt, I'll be printing on the back and on the front. In the transform panel, you should already have an approximate size which you want your prints to be printed at. The design I have here is quite simple. It only consists of an outline and a gradient swatch, and I'll be showing you how I prepared. I'd like to mention that if you have a different design, these particular steps may or may be not relevant to you, but the general goal of this tutorial is for you to get the basics that you can apply to your design. Every design is different, so I encourage you to try to see what would be the best for you and your t-shirt print. I like to make bleeds for my design, which is basically a continuation of the image outside of the contour. This prevents the appearance of outside margins on the design itself. Right now, I'll show you how I make mine. Before we even get started, we must assure that our design is made in a compound path. In a compound path, all paths are treated as one, meaning that if you apply a swatch, it will be distributed across your vector, just like the gradient here. If it's not converted into a compound path, your design would probably look similar to this, where the gradient swatch is applied to every letter. I'm explaining this just for you guys to be aware if something like this occurs. But to make a compound path, all we have to do is select the path and press Ctrl 8 or Command 8 on a Mac. From here, we can proceed to make our bleed. We do this by offsetting the path of your cut line by selecting and heading over to Object, Path, Offset Path. And in the offset, you will put in your value. I will have mine at 3mm. We'll make the joins round for my design and we'll click OK. You'll then have your bleed. Our next step is to assign a profile for the cut contour like in the previous tutorial. First, we'll take out the fill from the initial contour. This is done so that there isn't a collision of two gradient swatches. It's very subtle but very best to avoid. We then make sure that the stroke weight of our outline is 0.2 points. And then we'll head on over to the swatch panel and click New Swatch. In the swatch name, we will write Cut Contour. Select our color type as a spot color, have our values to at 100% magenta and the rest at 0. And then we'll click OK. And then make sure that our cut contour is selected as our swatch. The next step which we'll make is to give a perf cut around our print so it's easier to take out from the base. It's a similar process. We'll first make a square around the design and make sure that the stroke thickness is of course 0.2 points. We then head over to the stroke swatch panel, select New Swatch. This time we name our design as Perf Cut Contour. Again, have our color at spot color, and this time we'll push up the values of cyan to 100% instead of the magenta. So cyan at 100 and the rest at 0. Click OK. The design should then be complete. Here I copied this prepared print into a smaller version for my print piece. We could then proceed to save the design on your flash drive by clicking File, Save As, and saving your files in Illustrator EPS. In the pop-up window we can select Illustrator EPS CS6. We will click OK and head over to our printer.
We will then proceed to the printing. For this, I'll be using a special textile vinyl for our print. We have a separate video on how to change materials on the Roland TrueVis printer, so make sure to check it out if you do not know how to change the material.
Once the material is loaded, we'll open VersaWorks program and select File. Go to Add Job to Queue and select QA. Select your Illustrator file from your flash drive. Once you click Open, your file will load and then you can double click on it. We'll then be in the media settings, and the first thing to do is to click Get Media Width. This will enter the proportional size of your vinyl into the program. Down here we can adjust the amount of copies. I only need to print one, so I'll keep it this value. We will then go over to Quality and select High Quality to get the best result since we will only be printing one shirt. Moving on, we'll select the scissors icon and make sure that the operation mode is selected as Print and Cut. Make sure that the Execute Prefeed operation box is ticked. This will activate our perforation cut, and we'll set our perforation force to 250, since the textile vinyl is thicker than the usual standard ones. We will then click OK, and click on the print icon. Click print again and our machine will start heating. Within a few minutes the machine will finish heating and the print will start. You can sit back and relax, and I advise you not to open the door of the machine because this will stop the machine from printing. Once your print finishes printing and cutting, we can finish the print by pressing Function, Down, and Sheet Cut. This will cut off the print from the base material. Take out your print and do not touch the printed areas right away, as the ink needs a few minutes to set in. After a few minutes, you can proceed to remove the non-printed areas from the backing. It's a tedious process, so make sure you take your time in order not to ruin the print. Feel free to use an X-Acto knife to remove small areas like holes within the letters. At the end, only your print should remain on the transparent backing. Afterwards, we'll pick up a special transfer film which we'll glue our print to. Cut a piece of transfer film from the roll approximately the size of your print. Carefully peel off the backing while taping your print, and again, really take your time with the process. You can press out the remaining bubbles using the backing of the film. Once you have fully sandwiched the transfer film and the print, you can start peeling off the original backing. Once your vinyl is mirrored onto the new backing, we can begin heat pressing onto the shirt. Turn on the heat press on the right hand side and wait for it to fully heat up. You can set your settings by holding the gear icon and use the arrows to set in your values. We want our shirt to be printed at 130 degrees Celsius for around 10 seconds. While your iron is heating up, you can line the print to the area you want to print on, and of course, be very careful with the iron. Before pressing, make sure to cover the print with a sheet of cotton or thermal film to prevent the plastic film from melting onto the iron. Push down fully for the iron to lock. Pull up once the timer goes off. Once the iron is lifted, you can remove the film from the shirt. Repeat the same step for your other prints. Your t-shirt should then be ready.
Hope you enjoyed this tutorial and thanks for tuning in. We hope to see you here in Fablab SG2-300.